Welcome back, everybody, to our third game of the day. We have just seen Natives drop to AAB. We've got no undefeated team and no winless team in the league any longer. And now we're into our third game of the day between Lundqvist, Lightside, and of course, no longer Augless. We've got Rate, who will be taking on the mantle of those players.
And I feel like as we are kicking off, about to hop straight into Champs Select this
yeah.
one. Places I want to be looking, first of all, is that top lane. Second of all, is that jungle. We have got Arcane Teddy, who, for my money, has been underrated coming into this tournament. They had a not great Winter Showdown, but from my experience with the UKL, this player, it should never, ever be given an opportunity. And that's why I think we see the Gwen instantly taken away from this team.
Absolutely. Lulu Hecarim away on the other side. Of course, the likes of Victor is a man you want to be paying attention to. This guy has been a phenomenal jungler up there with the likes of Snille and some of the other top-end junglers in this tournament. And of course, Corki banned away as well. Very much a first-pick option. And instead, I will turn our eyes back towards this top jungle matchup because we're both feeling that could get really spicy. Arcane Teddy was pretty much the out-and-out best top laner down for the UKEL last year, was just disgustingly good. And Sveni on the other side is this incredibly stable, great counter pick player. Loves to pick up things like the Ukshan, the Singed, these slightly crazy counter picks to try and get those laning advantages. And this is a draft phase where both of these players will be looking to try and get themselves an edge, either with some help from the jungler or just by themselves.
I think that Lightside is a team that I really like to watch on the red side of the map, because getting that counter pick for Svene in that top lane, they have got a massive pool that they will play whatever. And it does make me think that this might be the first game we get to see one of those Smite Enchanter strategies. If it is going to show up, Svene's got my money for the person to pull it out. They banned away two globals in the form of the Corki and the Twisted Fate, one of the best responses towards that strategy that we've seen so far. Now, what we have got picked up first is going to be just the Raw Zins out. Good jungler, solid blind pick, still got a lot of ADC and the Thresh power on the table though.
Absolutely, and that does now leave open a response of something like Thresh plus Aphelios, Thresh plus Jinx. It's been a huge deal, saying Untouched could definitely think about it. Hover of the Zeri as well is getting me a little bit excited, but still some things to go through, and I feel like Thresh plus Hyper Carry feels like a pretty easy pickup here for Lightside.
I think this might actually have been Rate saying, okay, we know that Sena has been practicing the Zeri, she has got it ready to play. Let's leave open all of the other ensemble so it's not on the risk. It's not something we have to be scared of, because Aphelios and the Jinx early game can not only outrange but outduel the Zeri, who is rather weak in those first few levels. So I like this. And then instead, actually, of just picking up the Thresh, the Trundle counterpick to Xin Zhao, I'm assuming that means Rate wants to pick up the Thresh here, otherwise might have something abstract for us.
And now, do Rate want to go something like the Zeri Yumi, which has been a pretty disgusting combo for a lot of people around the world, and instead thinking about going towards some other stuff as well. It's the problem we're talking about, hovers. Xena, another one of those picks that's been rising in priority towards the bot lane, will lock in. Now to see what they lock in alongside it, and whether it's going to be a fasting or a farming Senna.
Likely to be going for the fasting route, but at the end of the day, Senna's one of those champions where it really is just based on what phase of the moon you're on, not like Aphelios, just what time of the year will be what form she takes. She has that eternal Senna cycle of best ADC in the game, best farming, just support, going for the fasting strategy, then out of the game, and then suddenly she's back. So right now, like you say, got the support paired with them.
Big lockdown options here. Zenith Blade into Curse of the Black Mist, into... Sorry, not like Curse of the Black Mist, the Last Embrace. Curse of the Black Mist is the thing which makes Senna invisible. And it's a lore matchup, because the Thresh is locked in alongside it. Senna v Thresh is a pretty spectacular story, even if it was perhaps not as well received as it might have been last year. Either way, still big lore moments. And now, of course, we've got to see where we end up in the second phase, because there's still, unsurprisingly, solo laners to pick up for on both these sides, both top laners trying to find a good matchup here.
And as we move into these second rotation bans, I want to put the focus onto Fatty P in the mid lane for Lightside. And the reason for that is, in my experience watching this player, when they were playing in the Sweden Winter Showdown, along with everybody on this team actually, apart from Touch, this squad has maintained a pretty solid core. They were playing non-stop melee bruisers. the Yone, the Silas, these kind of champions. They were looking for those angles all the time. However, coming into this tournament, we've seen a relatively different style. It's been the Corki, the Twisted Fate, the Vex, these much more reserved control mage champions, and I think quietly, Fatty P is climbing up the standings in form of my personal opinion, because just showing so much variation in style and the ability to consistently play both means a massive amount and makes drafting so difficult for Rate coming into this one.
For all that we're saying, there's the kind of the mad scientist in the top side when you've got such a consistent carry in mid, because Fatty P has been nothing but consistent, I feel, across this tournament as the Aurelia ban comes through very much against the likes of Arcane Teddy, who's done disgusting things on that in the past. Otopia, I believe, plays that one as well. Fatty P going up against this kind of rookie player who's only had a few months competitive last year, really over on, I believe it was Viperio. Doing really well. You've mentioned, the Winter Showdown where he was on those hard engaged picks, but he's been more on the Corki this time as well. That flexibility, that consistency, huge ability to be able to play kind of through the mid game from a guy who's is going to be at the right item breakpoints at the right time. Thinking about bringing out Syndra in this occasion.
Okay, so this means that now for Rate, it's really dangerous for you to lock in any kind of a mobile mage in the mid lane. Victor currently off the table, Twisted Fate and the Corki gone. Not too many of the premier pick options left up. Could potentially see a LeBlanc. Very good pairing with the Xin Zhao and would have a hell of a time against the Trundle. Not so much against the Syndra though. That's why a lot of these picks that are still open are pinched in a big way.
And I like the gauntlet being thrown down here. That's a Camille for Arcane Teddy, I suspect. And looking forward to see what Svene decides will be the answer into it. One final pick towards the mid lane, unless there's some real shenanigans going on. We've seen one Vigard a day. Is it time for another?
Called broken in our previous interview. I understand why. This champion is the epitome of scaling and has so much consistent denial. Now, one of the ways you can get through that is a Malphite ultimate, so I love this hover right here for Svene in the top lane. They are one of those players that, when you look around, he's one of the ones I trust that will play any champion if they think it's good for the comp, and that is why we will get the Rock. No Gwen is just going to be turning the enemies into that paper that they are hoping to smash through this game.
Very good. Well, we were joking about, the Vigard last game summoning down all these meteors from the sky. Well, now you've actually just literally got a giant meteor in the form of a Malphite, like, running at your face, and you have no way of stopping that. Literally, it's called Unstoppable Force. Like, it's in the name. And Rate will have to try and bleed the hard place to stop that from happening. They've got some pretty good zone control between Leona, Senna, the Xin Zhao, Crescent Guard. You've got, of course, the Cage as well from the Vigard. Could make things difficult if Malphite ends up going too deep. But I've seen you kind of rubbing your hands and staring at something there, my man. Well, what's caught your eye?
You actually just made a very good point listing off those abilities right there. The Vigard Cage, right, is annoying because it means you can't walk into these areas. Two separate big displacement ultimates right here from Rate in that Camille and the Xin Zhao. So you don't even have to get the Cage spot on because these two can just go for the hard engage onto the Syndra, onto the Jinx, which is their normal play pattern, and then they're going to just by proxy knock other people into the event horizon. So
I like it.
It's kind of scary, yeah. It's going to be tough to play against. Fatty P is going to need to be on point with those denials, and even then, you can't stop the Camille, so...
Yeah, and I feel like this might be a cleanse game for Sena. See whether they do run that one coming into the game. Of course, you've still got a really good front to back. You've still got a good way to get through all of the displacement stuff in the form of the Malphite, who can just make himself unstoppable and all of that stuff. But it's still going to be a question about whether the kind of slightly more zone control-y comp from Rate can deal with what seems to be more of a pick front-to-back option from Lightside.
And it feels so strange to call them the zone control-y comp when you have Pillar, you have Syndra, you have Traps. Like, this game feels like it's going to be a similar level of thought out to the previous matchup. But like you say there, the Vigard offers so much utility on their own. We do actually get this fight for the first ward. Is going to likely be Victor chucking down a ward and probably swapping to the red trinket, I imagine. You don't want to have your level 1 pathing fished out like this. Born this way, though, pinging it. Not sure if they're going to take their base to swap to red trinket or not. Looks like they're actually going to stick around and maybe fish for an invade, potentially.
Okay. Nope, just going to be some wards put down and no more action to be found yet.
Good.
None of that to be found. It's just a lot of vision pings being thrown down. Someone's going to remix that. We can get a Div 2 beat going on. As Victor gets a hold of that ward and smacks it out. Does share, of course, the gold as Touch does the same towards his bot lane. And early vision game going the way of Lightside, and that clearly decides who wins this game.
You say that jokingly, but Svene will be able to hit level 2 off for this first minion wave, I believe, now getting that XP from the ward. So it's not actually negligible, considering you've got Teddy on this Camille with the Ignite. You're expecting Svene to just want to try and poke them out using that Corrupting Potion to its max value, and then just mitigate any long trades that the Camille wants to fish for.
Alright, so now to see whether that can kind of come through here, and both junglers pathing, interestingly, to opposite sides of the map. So Born this way will be looking to get up towards the top side to help out Arcane Teddy, which is no surprise considering the matchup and considering the kind of player Teddy is. But on the other side, Victor looking to path down towards this bot lane to see whether anything can happen around there, and using the pressure of that lane that Jinx and Thresh can offer early on. Definitely going to have the shove, you imagine.
And on the subject of the shove, Fatty P using that mid lane push to actually threaten Born this way on their Raptors. I don't believe they managed to steal anything, but putting that pressure down early is going to be important. Just trying to keep the Xin Zhao out of the game. You're already counterpicked in the jungle matchup. Trundle with this lethal tempo will take Xin Zhao for a ride in the 1v1s. Stacking up that attack speed is going to do way more than the Conqueror in the early game. Plus, the stealing of the AD. There's a reason that you pick Trundle as soon as you see Xin Zhao on the enemy team. It just fundamentally upsets them.
You just don't get to duel the jungler. Like, you jump in and go, this was a mistake, and then you can't run away because there's a pillar there, and then it's just bad. And Xin Zhao's like, well, I want to attack fast, and Trundle goes, no. None of that is fun. Either way, of course, you are still able to be useful with your ultimate. You're still a really strong ganker. Anyone who is not Trundle is still someone you can absolutely be really obnoxious around and really dangerous around. Of course, it's just a dangerous matchup if you do end up running into each other the wrong time, or the counter gank coming through, and that was why Victor decided to respond very quickly in that second round of picks with the Trundle.
Right now, we do have this top lane, the subject of jungle attention right now. Born this way, gonna take the Scuttle Crab, but with where the minion wave is, could potentially look for something, trying to force Svene's flash out. It's Victor, I'm watching the minimap. They haven't been spotted yet. They're on their way, though.
Just trying to bait it. Remember, there's still the Ignite on Teddy, but no flash, which means this makes it a little difficult. Here comes Victor, though, who's managed to path back the way towards the top side. Flash for that win, becomes lightning. Doesn't have the audacious charge. Now looking to try and turn it around. It's Victor, maybe in danger because Arcane Teddy hasn't backed off, but he's not there in time. And that forces Teddy to back off. And Victor, with a beautiful counter gank, gets the first blood.
And by having that ward on the Krugs, actually gets baited Born this way by going in. And one of the things... First thing, actually, I put down on the notes for this game was I expect Victor to have the advantage with superior early tempo pathing. And in English, that's just because he's really experienced, he's super familiar with all of his laners, and as far as it goes, they have the counter pick in the jungle, and they are using it to its maximum only 4 minutes into the game.
Yes, exactly that. And of course, on the other side, for the side of Rate, there are a few younger players on here, still a little bit to be learning. And yes, there's a little bit more veterancy in the likes of Lowfire and, of course, Arcane Teddy. But so, you know, you can see that sometimes experience matters, especially when it comes to things like the little macro moves there. Doing pretty well is Victor to make things difficult for the top side of the map, which did look pretty heavily like one of Rate's early win conditions when you have got the gank options there at least.
And if that had gone right, and Trundle had gone for the Krugs before pathing top, or it had just been the case where they were never there in the first place, maybe they had opted to take base early and then do the Raptors off of the recall, then in that case, you have a situation where Svene, as Malphite, is looking at the minion wave frozen in front of the enemy tower. You have to TP back in, and you're completely doomed. So that wasn't a bad play by Born this way, but considering they didn't have eyes on Zvictor, it was just one that they got outdone with.
Still, pretty close early game, though Lightside have managed to get themselves an early 1,000 gold lead, partly off that initial first blood that's gone through, and some decent laning, particularly towards this bot lane where Senna right now doing very well in the matchup here into the Senna Leona.
Considering that Senna, the way that I like to characterize her as a player is she prefers these much more mage-like champions, doing great so far.
Yeah, there's the heal force out of Lowfire as well, alongside the Ignite and trade, but it's going to be a 3v3 as Victor comes around as well to prevent any further chase on, rather. As, of course, you did see Peep land that Zenith Blade and then get dragged towards the Lanterning Sena, but kind of ended where she started rather than where she ended up with the drinks.
I would say that was rather lucky for Peep landing there, not having any of the shenanigans where Leona teleports back to the fountain or anything like that. As Born This Way, level lead, but will not be able to contest this first dragon, handedly going over to Lightside. Gonna throw out the pillar just to deny any potential re-engage. And now, Victor gets the path all the way up to topside with respawned camps, and Born This Way will look to do the same.
Indeed, and that could prove problematic, as we saw that first 2v2 was pretty close the last time. It definitely went in the favor of Svene and Victor the first time round. They'll see whether they can make it happen a second, should such a thing occur. But right now, it is just Lightside with that early pressure. They're going to throw down the cage and force the flash out of Fatty P, because for all you've got set up in topside, Cage plus Jinzhao is pretty good in mid lane too.
Very, very respectful right then. Gonna be hard to say if that was completely necessary, but by doing it early, it means they can stay in lane, not have to burn that teleport. And if you look at the inventory, they've got the tier 2 boots and 2 stacks of the corrupting. They do not want to be basing right now, especially because Victor, once they walk over with the pillar, you have disgusting setup. You get the pillar slow, there's nothing Veigar can do except for flash, and then you get the free stun from Syndra into a dead Yordle. So, makes a lot of sense right here why they are going to burn that cooldown so preemptively. Oh, one health!
Way, though, taking the opportunity to come in here, and yeah, you're right, that got a little bit close, but Topi gonna wander around to see whether there's anything more to be found, as bot side touch did just have a little look to see whether there was anything exciting to be found there by walking up at Senna, who has gone fleet footwork this game as well. Just a note on the summon or the rune choice. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Took me a second to remember the appropriate nomenclature. As mid lane, there is still just a little bit of junglers and supports hanging around to see whether there's anything more to be found. That is because it's 8:22, and that means Rift Herald is spawned.
Oh, good heavens, would you look at the time. It's a rotation up to the mid lane. And I will say, we were critical of it previously, as generally rotating your bot lane up to mid. One of the times where it is completely fine to do it is when you're against Senna, because her wave clear sucks as a champion. She cannot
Yes,
push out
does.
this minion anytime soon. You'll see that Senna rotate to mid, cleared the wave, and is going to get back down there before anything happens.
Yeah, and of course, you know, now that Lo-Fi has level 6, can obviously fire the Dawning Shadow to be involved, but not going to happen, and they're just a little late to get to this play. But he's going to get landed into the event horizon. Flash, but it's a stun in place. There's the Dawning Shadow afterwards. Victor has been ignited, going to try and get chased down. Subjugate, get subjugated.
We see the power of that cage Topi completely out of mana, but having all the impact needed to get Victor's flash and get that kill. While it won't do too much to stop them getting the Herald, it will deny tempo for them and get Veigar a free reset, which is valuable in of itself.
Very much so, and it evens up the gold. It forces the flash out as Victor. Yes, Born This Way traded for it, but Trundle has no other ways of escaping, really, aside from well-placed pillar, and that's pretty important considering it was kind of a little danger of Lightside starting to get some of this stuff for free, and I'm sure Rate will appreciate the opportunity to get themselves on the board.
They most definitely do need to be getting on the board. They're not in a rush. They do have the Veigar, and it's kind of hard to say that a team with Veigar plus Senna scales poorly, especially because the Lightside squad has things like the Trundle, who, at least generally, when you look at them, don't scale exceptionally well. But I don't want to look at it as just raw stats. I want to look at it as their impact in the game. Svene, on this Malphite, scales exceptionally for the purpose of denying Topi and denying Lo-Fi from standing up and actually putting out DPS.
Oh, that's just a very dead Senna. Hook into Flay, into Chompers, into the box, and the box is coffin-shaped and lowered 6 feet down. Sena picks up their first kill, and now they can start shoving in bot side. Remember, they've got a Herald around as well, so they can look for even more here, should they so wish.
It's no rush. You don't have to just chuck it down so preemptively, because if you look at the duration, still over 2 minutes to go before this needs to get put down. While I definitely agree with you, they should be looking to put it down here, there isn't anything that is forcing them to. Looks like they're going to chuck it.
Ooh, they're going to get a Solar Flare. That's actually a massive pickup there. It might be the 1-for-1, though. Going to get the charge, and that now means it's going to be pretty difficult to defend this any further. Do at least get a 1-for-1. I suppose the Lo-Fi is now around. Might be able to defend this tower as a result of it. And it's a bold call, a one-for-one call, but it is one that ends up being
wait,
roughly okay.
Teddy's
As top
dead.
side, Teddy has died to an ultimate from Svene, it appears.
Okay. I'm not sure what to tell you about that one. That is just Svene. Looking like because Teddy didn't actually get the base off that they were fishing for a couple times there, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that they hid in the bush, pretended like they based, they had used up all their corrupting, and then as soon as Teddy went to clear the wave, it's a no flash, Camille. You walk up, exactly, and if you cancel the hook shot with the Malphite ult, zero way to escape. We've seen it a lot, actually, over in the LCS recently, and I'm sure we'll see it here. I'm expecting it to be the case. Let's find out firsthand. As we get the bot lane dive, well, dive in air quotes, it's kind of the opposite, actually. Born this way, trading for the kill, but the thing is, Jinx gets excited, there's nothing you can do to contest them, and it will be a majority of the plates going over to Lightside here. But up in the top lane, just Svene straight up diving on the tower, actually.
Looks like, didn't see exactly how that play started when the ult came through. Looks like there was an attempt to immune it with the Hextech ultimatum, but just didn't work out. And that is a nice kill for Svene, who's feeling pretty happy, but gonna see how the rest of it all plays out, of course, because the later this game goes, the more Arcane Teddy feels happy in the side lane, but does need to try and get through this early pain point, especially now with things like the Bramble Vest, the Balmy Cinder have come through, when things like the Steel Caps will be coming out relatively soon as well, and that means that until some more items have come through, Camille's going to have a harder time chunking through this massive wall in front of her.
And not only that, we get the Malphite able to itemize into the Fimbulwinter right now. The fact that they can slow every couple seconds with the Q is going to be really important, because you just get free shields over and over again. As we're going to see it firsthand up in the top lane. Okay, Teddy just standing on the tower, thinking they're safe, like you say, getting ready to outplay it with the ultimate. But they're slowed here. Where is it? There's the ultimate. Point blank right there.
Ooh.
Not much you could do.
Yep.
The Ignite even comes out too. That's insult to injury. Doesn't even die to the ult.
And that just means one dead Camille. The Topi is going to try and get
top laner.
Fatty P here. Does have Primordial Burst. Flash for it. Not quite enough. And now the turnaround can maybe come through top side. There's a fight as well as Svene. Taken pretty low. Throws down that unstoppable force. That is a big ultimate through. And Svene wins it in the 1v2 with the help of Saina, who's turning up as well. Excited. And can start running down. The Jinto has no mana. Gonna keep running. The Zap has to be flashed away from. And Lightside just turn it around in 2 lanes at once.
Oh, you can tell she's a Swain player with ultimates like that. Very nicely done by Saina, coming in for the save at the end of it. Gale Force dash to finish him off as well. This is going to be Topi dying mid, like you said. VIP goes down in respite, but look at all the power plates. Trundle shreds through this objective. Top lane, Jinx getting it for free. You could just watch, like, a beating pulse, the gold curve go up. If they could kill this before the plates barely
Just too shy. I think that didn't go through, but I'd have to double check. Either way, they are now up 4,500 gold. Or it might be 3.5 actually. I forget my maths. Don't trust me on that one. And we'll see this play again. Here's the mid lane play where Topi thought they had the 100-0 and just didn't.
And this was the great flash, because if that Q lands, it is the 100-0. Remember the execute damage coming out. And the follow-up right here looks like it's going to work. Okay, it was actually support or combat getting the return kills on both ends. Oh, that's brilliant right there. And then Victor shows up, ruins the support or combat party with an extra bit of support, morally at least, and follows up with a series of mid lane destruction on that tower that's saved the top.
Indeed, then that does leave us with that relatively extreme gold lead at this point in the game. 4,000 is nothing to sniff at. Right, need to find a way to stop this bleeding, need to find a way to try and pick up some of this gold. They've got some objective bounties around, and they've got some good scaling between Senna and Veigar, and of course, Camille as the game gets later, but it's not like Lightside are shy on options, not with this Trundle so far ahead, not with this Malphite, ready to jump on people any given notice, and seeing the early gold that's gone into this Jinx's pocket, Senna is very ready to take some names in this game.
And I think that one of the most important parts when you talk about scaling now is to look at the range, actually, that you get. Because there's so much damage in the game. It's all about if you could get on top of people. Kind of like what we're seeing on both sides here.
So we've got Solana versus Solana. That's just a decent engagement. It's going to be knocked up on his Victor, who's taken pretty low, but has the subjugate. Just on this way, audaciously charges forward to get the kill, though. And Rate find a much-needed pick. Here come the teleports, though. They're going to try and get onto this Thresh going down. Arcane Teddy gets that one. Now Svene on the wrong side, remember, does have the ult, can try and get something. Unstoppably forces on to Senna, who's deleted in an instant. In goes Peep, but I think they've just gone too deep. Has no flash, has no mana. And now Senna Svena can start running down the remaining members. That's a big turnaround win for Lightside at the end of it all.
And then the counter TP back to bottom lane, so you can't even look to collect a bounty. Brutal for the side of Rate at the end of that play. And it is excellent map usage from Lightside. Very hearty cooldown on the teleport, but they are going to use them extremely well to counteract that one. Go collect the Rift Herald here, and with a Jinx in tow, going to be potentially fishing for inhib pushes in the near future. Dragon spawning in 50 seconds. Gotta be all about getting the resets to be ready for that one.
And so much frustration there, because it looked pretty good for Rate there. They get the initial pick, they chase on to get another, but then Svena has the TP and the ultimate. Topi can't join, and the problem is you've killed support the jungler. You've still got a Syndra, you've still got a Jinx, you still got the Malphite with R available, and the rundown there is just too strong to deal with.
And the setup right there, that's what it is. It's the burst from Syndra enables the Jinx to get the elongated damage. A Jinx who has Get Excited is just so hard to access, especially when you look at the side of Rate. There is nobody that could just point and click CC them. You need a flash from the Leona, and even then, that is wishful thinking. Arcane Teddy, without this flash, cannot access the Jinx when they're going that quick. Plus, the disengage of this Thresh by their side. The bot lane for Lightside has been very, very dominant so far.
Now they're going to try and get onto Svena, of course, does not have the ultimate quite up yet. They're jumping into him. That is the Crescent Guard as well, but he's now got it. He's into a Hextech ultimatum, though, and this rock might finally be cut down to size. A precision protocol causes enough true damage to secure the kill.
Good maneuver right there, I'll say, by Rate, knowing that you can't contest this dragon straight up, so you might as well collect on the other side of the map. But now, on the bottom lane, we have got the Rift Herald summoned down here. The bot lane tier 2 is going to get cracked open, going to be a lot of money, and I don't think Topi will be able to one-shot this, so it's likely to be Inhib Tower going too.
Yeah, remember, of course, there was the Soul Point Dragon picked up all the while as well. Teddy has stayed top lane to try and secure at least a bounty back. The charge did come through. That'll be the inhibitor turret chunked in. Lightside, yes, they lose a member, but they still get the Herald charge. They still get the Dragon. They're still sitting pretty in this game.
So I think that we've got just a bit of time now before anything super proactive happens. What on earth is this game so far? I would say it's going not exactly to plan for Lightside, but they are kicking off very well. The Veigar has the potential to scale into this one, but provided they are not super in the game, Svena could just keep itemizing this armor and become an unstoppable machine that just gets to roll over the enemy team.
Of course, you know, you will have eventually some execute damage on a late game Veigar, but I wouldn't necessarily call that tank killing potential, really, from the little Yordle in the mid lane. He can do, I mean, he'll do something eventually, of course, but he's a little ways behind right now, still waiting to continue stacking up, still waiting to get towards some big items. Has kind of got the way towards a Void Staff, has got a stacked tier, but, you know, still waiting on second items compared to, say, Sena. 2 items complete on Jinx very happily earlier. Svena takes a big chunk, does end up in the event horizon. You don't want to go beyond that. We've all made the black hole references before. Not too much more to write home yet.
Exactly, because it is just a matter of waiting for somebody to be out of position, kind of like this.
A little bit like that, but the turnaround solar flare makes Sena's life very difficult, but in turn, low fire, just low ball, taken straight out at the kneecaps. 2 dead, the bot lane for Rate taken apart.
Sorry, I'm just watching Svena. I don't know what that maneuver is, but that is giving me big Nautilus vibes when you get stuck in the hook animation. I don't know. This is
just looking for a hug. That's all it is.
I just need to see it again. That was brilliant.
Not the play, just Svena walking up the lane.
Come on now, the play, easy. It was just born this way. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay. Come on, fingers crossed. Is this the important replay? Okay,
no, it's look, it's got to talk about the game, Melvin. It'll be a color caster for a minute.
Sure. All right, well, this is Born This Way, getting caught out by the pillar, and the chain CC zone control combo right here that just puts down the traps and then follows up with the Malphite ult is so oppressive. And there we go, we get it! Svena slinking away, ready to recharge their battery on that, sub 100 HP bar, is going to happily vibe their way back to base and come out with another one.
Yeah, he just wants a hug, man. You know, everyone else seems to not enjoy the hugs. You know, He's a bit aggressive with them.
He's a bit quick,
charging at you
yeah.
with like Mach 5. He's just a mountain that wants some love, and you can see it there as Teddy perhaps looking to give that to the man mountain. Takes a big chunk there from the position, but look at the way Dave's the turnaround damage.
Rock and scissors!
There's the hole. No, surely not again.
It's rock and scissors. Oh, goodness gracious. That was a tragedy. Not getting the initial stun on the Camille means you don't get the attack speed boost, so just not got the actual material to be able to get through Zvene at this point in the game is just going to give over free pressure right now. Yeah, he's not exactly a tower killer, but considering everybody else has to be standing here to deny this Baron attempt...
God, there's
He's
no
got
tower
it.
at the moment. The team got hit by the Rift Herald. There's no tower left to take, really. It's a few autos, and he's taking it. And Zvene, on this Malphite, soaked up so many ganks, so much pressure. 4, 1, and 5. 2 solo kills to his name. Absolute greatness from this player. Teddy will at least pick up a second item now, but feeling a little bit like too much too late. At least the inhibitor's not taken, and this might give some option to buy some space. But remember, it's 45 seconds until Soul right now for Lightside.
You really don't have a way to play the map correctly here from Rate. You need to try and get some posture around the objective, because the thing is, if you look at these two comps, fundamentally there's a lot of similarities. They both love to control area, and they both love to look for those individual picks with tools like the top laners' ultimates respectively, the Leona, blah 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 blah. The main and most important difference is, both teams have the burst, but only Lightside has that ranged, consistent DPS. Trundle can match the Xin Zhao tenfold in the DPS game, but it is Sena. She does way more at this point in the game than Lowfire can to these front lines. And when Zvene is as far ahead as they are, when Zvictor is as bulky of a troll as they can be, you just get to watch it right here in practice.
You get to do exactly this, and we already mentioned what the matchup between Trundle and Xin Zhao is. Gonna flash away and try and get out, but the Super Mega Death Rocket explodes on Leona, and the collateral is born this way. Touch coming around the side, throws out that Dark Passage. Flay allows for a kill, a second kill rather for Sena, who is at 5-0, 5-3 items, and there's a Baron spawn by the by, so they're gonna go look for that instead, as Arcane Teddy may be thinking of picking a dragon in trade, but they're not even gonna have an option to do that.
Malphite has completed the Thornmail, and we already saw that you couldn't take the fight beforehand. I do not think that there's any way for Rake to really contest this. It hasn't got a good steal tool, and it's just going to enable now Lightside to walk on down. They'll come out with the victors in both, getting the Soul and the Baron. And the worst part is, right, on a Cloud Rift, on a Cloud Soul, if you imagine how these fights are playing, Sena is going to be insanely quick. She is going full-on professional sprinter with this ultimate, because they hit, they get the reset, and suddenly she's got 1,000 move speed a second, able to chase down anybody. If a single person dies from Rate, the game is basically over.
It's so hard to stay alive at this point when you've lost so many structures, when you've got so many easy go buttons from Lightside, when you've got double stopwatches now on your carries as well. The turnaround gets harder and harder and harder. And yes, Senna, yes, Veigar, yes, Camille all do go, increasing amounts of damage as the game goes on. But we've already seen how hard it is to stay alive when Lightside have A, gotten ahead so far, and B, are playing the map so well with so many buttons that allow them to just jump in when they please.
Jump in where they please. Yeah, succinctly put, there's not much more to it at this point in the game. We do have Fatty P, though, alone on the side lane. Summoners up, but they have been very heavily flanked.
Here comes the crew of Rate, looking to find themselves a better start into this game. He just deleted, good lord. Okay, well, Bale. It turns out that it's late enough in the game that Veigar ult does enough damage. Primordial Burst secures the mid laner. But of course, Lightside, 4 men strong, will still shove into this mid lane and secure themselves an inhibitor turret. Unsurprisingly, it's Sena's Jinx that gets that one, gets excited, and now can roam down towards its already exposed bot lane inhibitor. Topi was trying to shove out the way, but you just can't stay far enough away. Crescent Guard comes out, born this way, is about to die this way as well. Died like he lived, I suppose is the way to phrase that one. Last inhibitor here in this bot side going down as well. That's 2 at this point. Lowfire trying to clean this wave as fast as they can, but instead it's a 2-man unstoppable force. They're going to go in the backside as Arcane Teddy, but it's a stopwatch that does not buy enough time. Topi throws down the vent horizon, but it's too late. They are over the precipice. It's a double for Sena again. 7-0-7. Make it 8. Make it a triple. And make it Lightside tying up Natives at 4-1.
You can most definitely see that this team is experienced together. The synergy, the just understanding of each other's playstyle is impeccable from Lightside. I love watching this team play, and they most definitely came here to play.
They really, really did. And after those early plays went in their favor, the top side 2v2 turnaround went in their favor. Herald played bot. You could see the snowballing happening, and unfortunately, most of the attempts back from Rate just kind of got counted or went awry. Number of solo kills with Svene, probably prime example of that. That does leave them falling down here to Lightside, feeling very pleased to be tying up with Natives, who dropped the ball earlier today, so getting spicy at the top of the tables.
Yeah, I mean, both ends, actually, now you say it like that, are going to have some form of contest. We're going to have the newly acquired Rate roster competing down the other end, looking at AAB, who are suddenly showing a bit more life than last week was really letting on. So, I think that about takes us ready to get started for our interview in a moment.
You know it does, and that does mean we have to cut to break. We'll be back in a few, so we'll see you after that.